But yeah, a rasp. Thank you. Rasps are amazing. They come in different sizes. They come in different finenesses. Grits. There we go. I was like, what is this word I'm looking for? Grits, like sandpaper. And so my favorite is the biggest rasp because you can just take your blade, and you can actually see. I kind of left this on here on this blade. You can actually see some of the markings from the file, and you just and it eats at the wood, and it's beautiful. So before you want to invest your money in getting like the belt sander, you can actually do this shape by hand. This blade is all done by hand. I didn't use my belt sander for it because I looked at my father-in-law's. I do it by hand too. But you can do it, and the more you get, the more you practice, the more you try it out, the better you will get. Yeah. So there's also okay. There's also chisels. I'm not very good at using a chisel yet, but those are a good hand tool for taking away pieces of wood and trying out texturing. You can also use, what is the other one? Oh, it's just another file. And then there's also this, I'm so good at this knife. Box cutter, yes. Box cutters are really nice for like cutting small details. Again, cut away from yourself and not towards your other hand. Yes. Cut away from yourself, not away towards your other hand. That's how this cut happened. I forgot. Because again, you don't want to slice yourself. And again, you make sure your blades are sharp. I was lucky that this one, it wasn't a very sharp blade because I was in a rush. Don't rush yourselves. Give yourself time before you start working on a project. But yeah, you can cut your hand and it can be really bad. But I was lucky on this one. I just super good at shot. All right. So here's, I don't know how well you can see that, but the effect of a rasp eating away at some MDF board. And that was just a couple of strokes and it just, no. It's beautiful. I love it so much. Next. So if you don't have a Dremel tool, but you have a drill press, which is probably more expensive than a Dremel, but you can do this thing. That's really cool. You can actually hook up a sanding bit to the drill press, and it starts spinning, and that's why I did my slingshot to get the details on the side, which is, it's somewhere. It's not in my bag. But yeah, you can get the details on the sides by doing that. Next slide, I can't remember what's next. Oh, wood burning tool. I love the wood burning tool. I gotta work on getting a better one, but I've got just a cheap one from Joann's right now. And it's great for adding in some like fine details. Like you can't quite like chisel it in or use the Dremel to get these little details in. I was like, why not just draw it using the wood burner? The wood burner actually creates a little bit of an indent in the wood, so you can create these really cool designs. So I did that on the hilt of this sword up here, and then on my harp as well, which you can come up and see. Next slide. Wood burning tools also like multi-functional. Here I am actually wood burning. I'm making PVC pipe look like wood. If you notice I'm not wearing a mask, I probably should have because PVC pipe is not good to breathe, but it was a windy day. Don't make excuses. Safety first. But yeah, so I did that to work on a bow to make the PVC pipe bow kind of look like it had this wood texture, and I painted it afterwards. Next. You can also add on, this one's really difficult to see, but for some details, you can't just make everything out of wood. So for some details, you can use stuff like epoxy sculpt, which is what I used for Zelda Borla's sword here. What this picture is trying to show is the black part of this blade. That's actually just Borla that I wrapped around it to make it look like it had like a stone hilt added onto it. That sword's the same thing, epoxy sculpted in wood, but you can also use craft foam to create those details. Craft foam is also already smooth, so that's nice. You have to kind of harden it or add something on top of it to strengthen it like a resin. But craft foam works as well. Yeah, next. You guys will see this tomorrow. This actually has nothing to do with woodcraft, and I forgot why to put it in here. But this is my bow for chic. It's made out of PVC pipe and craft foam and EVA foam and a little bit of Borla. And I made it so that it actually bends when you pull out the string, so that's why it's a PVC pipe bow. It technically works like a real bow. I could shoot a real arrow from it, but the arrow that Chic has is really stupid. So. Yes?
What are good things I'm going to use for beginners?
That's exactly what I was going to get to next. For beginners and masters, I love to use poplar and pine. You can also use MDF wood, but I just don't like it. MDF wood is it's like a particle board, but it's very dense, and you don't want to breathe in any of it. And I hate wearing a mask. It bothers me, which is funny because I'll be sheep tomorrow and have to wear a mask. I just don't like having it on my face, so I don't use MDF board a whole lot. One of the swords that I have made was made all out of MDF, and it was a lot of fun, but I feel like I get more strength out of pine and poplar. Poplar is my favorite because it's very smooth, there's not a whole lot of knots in it, and pine and poplar are also soft woods. You can work with them very, very easily, and you can strengthen them very easily as well. By adding resin on top of it. So this blade actually has fiberglass resin, which is filling in the holes, so that, again, like I said, you can see the scrape marks from my rasp. But it's been filled in with resin, so it's actually smooth all the way across. This one is not coated in resin. That blade is, though. Fiberglass resin is really cool to use. You have to wear a respirator with it. So respirator with fiberglass resin, respirator with MDF board. Those are very, very important. There's a couple other fun techniques. But we'll get to those. What is the next one? Painting. Yes, painting. Oh, did you have a question?
I just wanted to ask, people have told me that oak is a very good wood to start with when working on weapons. Would you agree with that?
I haven't tried oak. It's a little bit of a harder wood. Most of the wood crafters that I've talked to have said pine or poplar because they're soft. And they're also really cheap. I think a pine board you can get for the length of a sword, you can get for like $5, and then you've got everything you need for a sword. And then poplar is, I think, $8 for about the same amount, so it's just a little bit more. But you don't have those knots and things. I mostly work in poplar, unless I'm making something that wants to look like wood, then I'll grab pine because I want to have those knots and things in it. But I haven't tried oak yet. So that would be something you could experiment with and try. Kind of interesting.
Okay.
Do we have any more questions? Yes?
A really dumb question. The fiberglass resin, is that a resin that's designed for fiberglass or a resin that's fiberglass?
Both, actually. Both. It's designed, so fiberglass resin, you can get it at Lowe's or Home Depot in like a really big pack that lasts forever. It's usually used, you take out your fiberglass sheets and you coat it in the resin, lay it out, coat it in the resin, lay it out. Really obnoxious stuff. I just coat the resin on the blade. And I don't worry about any of the fiberglass sheets, but you don't want to breathe in the fiberglass when you sand it. So that's a very good question. Any more questions? before you start painting because, I mean, unless you want the wood grain to show through or you want the wood's texture to be a part of it, prime it. So use one even color. If you're working with dark colors, grab a primer that is darker already. If you want something that's kind of bright, go ahead and use a white primer. It's, kind of experiment with it. If you use, a black primer and then just use silver spray paint over the top of it, you'll get a different effect than if you were to use white primer. It will look different. It's really fun to try and figure out what does what. So make sure you prime it first. I use spray paints. I'll go to the automotive store and pick up auto paints because they're already really shiny. They make cars look shiny, so I'm gonna make my sword look shiny. And then to help add on top of that to make them even more metallic looking, I'll use rub and buff. And I've been wanting to try to use this metallizer stuff, but it's very expensive. But rub and buff, you just take a little bit of it and it's a waxy sort of component. You just rub it on top of your blade and take a heat gun to it afterwards because it is wax. Take a heat gun to it afterwards to seal it in, and then add a finish on top of everything. Always add a finish because otherwise everything's going to rub off, or your paint's going to dull over time, or it's going to get damaged by you just holding it. Use a clear coat finish to make it look super shiny at the end. And there's different kind of finishes too. There's gloss, there's matte, there's just plain finishes. I like the gloss because again it adds more shine to it, but if I wanted something to be dull, I'd probably use a matte finish. I think that is it on this. Any questions on painting? No? Okay. Yes?
If it has like a very, very intricate design that needs to be painted onto it, what kind of paints would you recommend then?
So I actually really like to use just go with acrylic paints from like Walmart. I'm cheap. But you can get whatever color that you want, and then for that intricate design, create a pattern and like cut it out of tape and lay it out, or carefully trace it out on your blade beforehand. Then you can just hand paint it in. And just use very tiny brushes, take your time. Again, I really like just the cheap acrylic paints. If you want something more metallic, you can use model paints. And again, as long as you add a finish over the top of it, it's not going to get ruined over time, whether you use acrylic paints or model paints. But it kind of depends on just what the look is that you're going for. If you want something, again, more metallic, model paints are fantastic. Yeah, that's fun. That answers that. Any other questions? Can't see your faces. It's really, someone way in the back, yes.
So when we're looking at respirator masks, I know that not all respirator masks are like gas masks with the big things. Do we need to buy a mask at the hardware store that actually says respirator on it? How do we tell the difference between just one of those paper ones and...
So paper one is definitely just a paper one. It's just a paper mask. It keeps the dust off of your face. A respirator will have filters on the sides. And they're not always mechanical. I think some are like actually mechanical and will like pull in the air for you, blah, blah. You don't even have to go that fancy. You just need the ones with the filters on the sides. And over time, you just change out those filters when they get dirty. And you can find some for pretty good prices. You don't have to spend like $100 on getting a respirator. You can get some for less than $50. I think the one that I use was less than $50. I'll have to ask my husband about that because it's his. I just steal it from him. That's what's great about getting married is you get their stuff too. All right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, this is a cool thing with finishes. So, really cool thing. So, don't knock on the Walmart acrylic paints too hard, because even though they are cheap paints, this is all painted in that. My slingshot, as soon as I remember where I put it, is all painted in that. If you water it down and let it soak into the wood, it almost looks like a stain. And then so it looks like really dry stains. This is dry and kind of ugly looking right now. And then I added a finish on top, and this was a semi-gloss, so it wasn't fully glossy, it was just semi-gloss. And it brought that wood to life. adds life to your prop, and it protects the paint. And it made it, I didn't have to go out and buy an expensive stain to make this look like a darker wood. I just spent $3 on, well, actually I think that was the $1 paint bottle. And then $3 or $4 on a finish. Not that bad. And I also had more control. Usually with stains, you kind of have to guess and experiment. Be like, I'm going to do this to this piece of poplar, and it's going to give me this shade of red or something, but when I do it again on another piece of poplar, it might change colors. Stains can be unpredictable, where the acrylic paints, they can be a little bit more predictable and a little bit more controlled. You can add details and shading and all sorts of fun things by just letting it soak into the wood after it's been watered down. It's my favorite technique to use to create wood grain textures on props. Next slide. This is the last one? Oh, it's the last one? Okay. So let's turn the lights back on. If somebody pushes the second button down over there, it will bring the lights up really bright. Yeah, awesome. Okay. So for the next part, you guys can go ahead and come up here. You can ask me any question that you want. I've got props up here on display. Is there any general questions before we have people come up yet? Is there a project that you want to try working on that you have questions about, or yes? Okay, next.
Mine isn't really so much about weapon prop. It's I was wondering if you had any experience in like plastic fiber foam works for like a breastplate. I was trying to look into.
EVA foam is amazing. You can shape it, you can heat it, you can cut it up and glue it back together. Contact cement is your best friend when it comes to gluing things for EVA foam. And then there's this thing called Epsilon that you can coat the EVA foam in. I'm really excited to use it for my next cosplay. Like, oh my gosh. You coat your armor after you've got it shaped, you've got all the details on it that you want it to have, you know it fits, then you add the Epsilon to it. It actually helps harden it, and then you have to sand it, and sand it, and sand it, and it will look like metal. Of course, if you paint it to it, it'll look like metal. I mean, if you make it out of pink EVA foam, then it looks like pink metal, I guess. But you want to make sure you sand it and again, add a finish afterwards, and it will look beautiful. Look up Fire Cosply. He just made a Fierce Deity armor, and that's the method he used, and it's, oh my gosh. Like, I'm going to die if I ever meet him in person. So we had a question over here, and then I'll turn.
The EVA foam also takes spray paint primer, just fine.
It doesn't eat it?
Huh? No, it doesn't eat it.
Okay.
It takes
Careful in
spray
spraying spray paint, but spray paint primer.
It takes the primer, and if
Okay.
you want to seal it, also you can use gesso.
Yeah.
In thin layers, and it's more bendable.
Yes. Those are good things to do, because if you use the wrong thing, it will eat the foam, and it's really funny. Except you might cry. Okay. You're next. Okay.
I was more curious about the difficulty of switching from like combining paint with other materials like cardboard and paper mache and stuff like that to woodworking.
So switching from cardboard and paper mache to woodworking.
Obviously less forgiving, but
It's definitely less forgiving if you like really, whoops. But it is workable to fix things. Like if I accidentally cut off the end of this blade, I would cry. I would really cry. I'm not gonna cut your blade. But you could put it back together, and there are ways to like reinforce the joint that you've now created with nails and sanding and adding on. You probably do the fiberglass like actual layers to mend it back together. But it's definitely not as forgiving as like, oh, I just ripped this piece of paper. I'll just do it again. Transition from it, I think, is very rewarding because there's a lot of cool things that you can do with paper mache and cardboard and foam. But this lasts a long time. It lasts a lot longer. It's a lot more durable. And the only way this thing is probably going to break is if it gets dropped really, really hard. Yeah, I think figured out. Okay. Yes.
Alternate question again. What is EPA foam?
Oh, what is EVA foam? Floor mats.
Okay.
Like those work floor mats, the gray ones with like the textured side, the smooth side that you kind of walk on. Puzzle pieces, like the princess puzzle pieces, that's EVA foam. Yeah. It's great stuff. It's really great stuff. Like it sounds like a fancy name, but it's like it's princess puzzle pieces. That's what my Sergeant Calvin costume's gonna be made of. It's gonna be pink and purple and green before I paint it. It's gonna be beautiful. Alright, so I'm gonna have you guys go ahead and come up then. This doesn't look like there's too many more questions. I found my slingshot. So if you want to come up and take a look at the props, I'll stand over here.